Okay, hey everybody, it's Shay. Checking in with you. I mentioned a couple updates back that I was going to be including to everybody who gets a physical reward with the Kickstarter pledge. They're going to get a block print that I'm only going to do for this Kickstarter. And I thought it might be interesting, at least for a couple of you, to see how that process works and what it is. So I just thought I'd do like a quick example, and then I'll show you the printing process of actually printing your block prints that you're going to be receiving. What a block print is, it's a relief type of printing where you essentially carve away from some sort of substrate the areas you don't want to print. It's really basically a one color print in this instance. You can do more complicated multicolors, but I'm not going to do that for this. We're going to stick with a one color print, and I just kind of want to show you how that works. What I'm using is, traditionally you can use a wood block, a linoleum block, or anything you can carve into the flat surface can be used. I'm using what's known as the Speedball Speedy Cut material. It's some sort of bizarre plastic, but it cuts really fast and really smooth. So that's what I wanted to use, and it gives you, the same quality print as a linoleum block or wood block or anything else. So it gives you a really nice print, but it's also easy to cut and really quick. What I start with is kind of figuring out what my drawing's going to look like, and then I sketch it out, as you can see here on the material. And that's just a really basic kind of outline of what it's going to look like. And now what I'm going to decide is some of the detail and how I want to carve that out, what I want to actually print, like shadows and highlights and all that stuff has to be accounted for. And you have to really kind of think about that before you start cutting, or you pretty much screw it all up and waste everything you've got. Now you can use an X-Acto knife to do it. You can use a utility knife. I've got a set of linoleum cutters with different blades, different shapes. And the way this works is I'll pick a cutter with a fairly fine line. I don't know if you can see that. It's got a fairly fine tip on it, and it'll allow me to cut a really small line in this material. So what I'll do is take the cutter and I'll just kind of start going over my outline here and pulling out pieces of this material according to the drawing I've sketched in. So it's really fairly simple process, but you have to be kind of deliberate so you don't take out areas that you want to print. You can pretty easily, if you're not paying attention, cut off a big chunk of something that you meant to print. So, you've got to be deliberate and take your time, but in terms of actually cutting the material, it's a lot quicker than, say, wood carving or even cutting in a linoleum block, I find. So just a second here, and I'll let you see what I've got. So if you can see, what I've done is I've gone in and gouged out areas of the material, and these areas will now not print. What's going to happen is anything that's raised is going to get ink applied to it, and that's what's going to print on the piece. So all these areas I cut away will be meant to be the color of the paper, which in this case is going to be a white paper. So that's what the process is like. Basically, you're just carving away. It's no different than the way you would work with a wood carving. Alright, so that's just an example of how it works. And I've already got yours done and carved out, and here is the finished. You see that? That's what the finished print's going to look like. I just kind of took a marker and skimmed over the top of the material so I could actually see what I've carved away. These areas that are in this black-red color here, those are the areas that are going to print on your pieces, and everything else is where it's below the surface of the material, and those should stay unprinted and keep the surface of the paper the original color. So this next stage is going to be inking this plate here and applying paper and printing. So I'm going to get that set up, and then I'll get back and just kind of shoot the process of that for you so you can see what's going on, and you can see your prints being made. So back in a second. Alright y'all, I'm back. I've kind of got stuff set up so we can begin the printing. And I just want to go over the materials and supplies we're going to be using here. Here we have the print, or the block for the printing. I've got a roller here, a brayer. What this is going to do, this is going to let me apply ink to this block. We've got a burnisher. This is going to allow me to apply pressure to the print once we get started to help really make the paper contact the plate appropriately and give you a good solid print. We've got our paper. I'm using Strathmore printmaking paper. It's a good heavyweight, high quality paper, archival quality, so it's good stuff. I want to make sure you guys are, feel like you're getting your money's worth and are happy with what I'm sending you. And hopefully this is something that'll stick around a while. And then I thought to either print these in black or purple. I couldn't decide, so I bought both. But I'm thinking we're going to go purple with this. Purple's always been my favorite color, so that's what you're going to get, I think. So what will happen is I put down kind of a big glob of ink. What I'll do is take the roller here, and I'm going to have to set the phone down because I can't do this one-handed. What happens is I'll take the roller and kind of roll out the ink on this piece of plexiglass just to have a smooth way to apply. So what you'll see is this is now coated with a nice thick heavy coat of purple ink, so I can reload the roller. Then what happens is I take the plate and give it a good solid coat of the ink. And you roll it in both directions. And I put a piece of cardboard down on my countertop to keep from ink in my countertop. Then I'll take the paper and properly position it just perfectly on the block. Let it kind of lightly fall down. And this is the first block print I've done in like 15 years or 10 years or something like that, so I'm curious to see what happens. And then we'll take the burnisher and burnish this bad boy and try to get good, even contact all across the paper. So, peel that up. And this is a water-based ink. Alright, so here is the first print. For me, you can see in some of these areas it's really flooded heavily. So I probably applied too much ink or not evenly enough. So I got a really heavy coat. So that's just kind of testing these out and making sure I adjust where I need to. And I won't reload the block because I went pretty heavy that time. And I'm going to change the way I load the paper. Before I was loading it over the top, I'm going to try to position it so that I can just kind of let it fall and see what we get. And again, I know I'm going to burn several pieces of paper trying to get the technique down and the quality of the prints. So I'm not going to show you the entire process of printing all of your prints, but this will give you an idea of what it's about and how it happens. So here it is without reloading. So you see we've used a lot of the ink from the other print, so there wasn't as much on the block. But this is cleaner, I think. So now I need to kind of adjust, and somewhere in between the first and the second is where I want this print to hit in terms of lightness and darkness. And all these are going to be different. Nobody's is going to be exactly like anybody else's. There's variation just in the nature of this type of printing. They're all going to be different. Okay, so I'm back. I've been printing now for a little while, and I've learned some things and have a much better handle on how to do this. And like this whole project, for me, a lot of it's just about learning some new techniques and stuff and revisiting old techniques, I guess, in this case. I was having a problem loading the paper so that it was the print came out square and it was a fairly even margin. So what I did is I took some carving blocks and marked up here and here where I needed to be, and then marked out the corner here where the printing plate is, so I could just kind of fit that in and line that up and give myself a good consistent placement across the board every time. There are going to be variations, but it's pretty close now. So I've loaded the paper, and I found that I'm using water-based ink on this, and it's pretty unforgiving. It dries really quickly, so you end up having to clean the print plate quite, I guess, more frequently than I would have thought. Had I used an oil-based print, that drying wouldn't be a problem, and it would be, I guess, a faster process. But I went with water-based for this. I didn't want to, deal with the toxicity of oil-based ink and have to clean up and all that. So I've kind of got my pressure down as far as burnishing, and hopefully we'll have a good clean print here. Just peel it away, and there's our print. Much nicer and cleaner than our first version. So I'm pretty happy with the way these are turning out now. But again, just kind of doing this, you get into it and you find the problems and you figure out the process and figure out how to fix it and make it work. And I'm having a lot of fun doing these. Just for so long I worked digitally, where you hit a print button and it sends it to a printer and that's it. But the more I'm into this whole project and get further along, the more I find that I would rather be creating actual pieces of physical art you can hold in your hand and say they're done. So this is kind of a big deal for me. This is something I haven't done in a long time in terms of like creating a lot of art that's not digital. So this has been good for me, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. And I've got some more super cool secret stuff you're going to get when you get your rewards. Those of you with physical rewards, I'm going to send you several extras. But this is one of them, and this is the one I'm going to show you. The other ones, you're just going to have to wait and see what you get, what falls out of the envelope. So here it is, and I got to get back to printing these for you guys. Thanks a lot for checking this out, and again, thanks so much for supporting this project. I know it's weird, but that's cool. I appreciate, your support of that weirdness. All right, guys. Later.